Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. President Lee Jae-myung has wrapped up his trip to the United States and South America. While in the U.S., he pledged to strengthen South Korea's role in the global AI supply chain. And in South America, he focused on deepening partnerships on critical minerals. South Korea is under an extreme heat wave, with temperatures in the southeastern city of Yangsan climbing to an unprecedented 42.5 degrees Celsius over the weekend. Authorities are urging residents to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activities, amid rising concerns over heat-related illnesses and deaths. U.S. President Donald Trump has said talks with Iran will begin on Monday. This comes after he called off planned strikes against Iran, following reports that the U.S. and Israel have been planning a new wave of intensified attacks. President Lee Jae-myung has concluded his 11-day trip to the Americas. In the United States, he announced the San Francisco AI Declaration to bolster cooperation on related supply chains. And in South America, he sought expanding partnership on critical minerals. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jang-min takes a closer look.
Kicking off his overseas trip in San Francisco, President Lee Jae-myung has announced the San Francisco AI Declaration, pledging to make South Korea an irreplaceable pillar of the global AI supply chain.
세계 최고 수준의 메모리 반도체 경쟁력과 생산 역량을 토대로 신뢰할 수 있는 AI 반도체 생산 기지이자 공급망 파트너가 될 것입니다.
The event was attended by big tech leaders, including NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, OpenAI's Sam Altman, Samsung's Lee Jae-yong, and SK's Choi Tae-won. Samsung and SK Hynix have announced AI cooperation plans with the global tech giants worth $950 billion, highlighting their partnership. The sentiment was extended into a dinner meeting.
우리는 친구다.
President Lee has also met 6 top venture capital firms in Silicon Valley, including Andreessen Horowitz, for broader South Korea-U.S. partnership in technology and startups. After wrapping up a series of major corporate events in the U.S., President Lee took a trip to key economic powers in South America for one-on-ones with his counterparts from Brazil, Chile, and Argentina.
With Brazil, we have signed a joint statement on critical and strategic minerals, including rare earths, for cooperation across the entire value chain. We also have signed MOUs with Chile, which owns the world's largest copper and lithium reserves, and Argentina, the world's 4th largest lithium reserves.
Following the Korea-Brazil summit, Lee and Lula have agreed to resume talks within the year to discuss the Korea-Mercosur trade agreement. Over in Santiago, the leaders of South Korea and Chile have agreed to resume their bilateral free trade commission to modernize the trade agreements after the ECOWAS summit. President Lee has also met with Argentine President Javier Milei. As a result of the talks, South Korea will begin introducing crude oil from Argentina next year as part of an effort to diversify energy supplies and reached an agreement to avoid double taxation. Following a flurry of diplomacy in recent weeks involving the EU, G7, and NATO, President Lee's trip to the Americas centered on AI, trade, and supply chains in the face of a fast-changing global order. Yoon Jang-min, Arirang News, Buenos Aires.
In wrapping up his 5-nation trip tour, President Lee Jae-myung stopped over in Germany on Sunday and met with members of the Korean community in Frankfurt. He noted that this year marks the 60th anniversary of the dispatch of Korean nurses to Germany, who traveled there to help ease unemployment at home and earn much-needed foreign currency for Korea's economic development. The president praised the nurses for their hard work and sacrifice. President Lee is scheduled to return to Korea on Monday and head straight to the Blue House for a closed-door meeting on domestic issues, including the housing and stock markets. South Korea's record-breaking heat wave is intensifying, with all of Seoul now under the highest level of heat alert. The extreme temperatures have already set a new all-time national record and continue to raise concerns over heat-related illnesses and deaths. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The entire capital region is now under a heat wave warning as South Korea continues to endure one of its most intense summers on record. On Sunday, the Korea Meteorological Administration upgraded the heat wave advisory for northwestern Seoul to a heat wave warning, placing every district of the capital under the highest level of heat alert. A heat wave warning is issued when daytime highs of at least 35 degrees Celsius are expected to continue for 2 days or more, or when extreme heat is likely to cause widespread impact. The dangerous conditions extended well beyond Seoul. In the southeastern city of Yangsan, temperatures climbed to an unprecedented 42.5 degrees Celsius on Sunday. According to the KMA, the mercury first reached 42 degrees at 1:16 p.m. before peaking at 42.5 degrees just 10 minutes later. The reading is the highest temperature ever recorded on the Korean peninsula since modern weather observations began in 1904, based on data from the agency's 97 long-term observation stations.
I think this is the hottest summer I've ever experienced. Even after taking a shower, I start sweating again almost immediately. I've never seen temperatures reach 42 degrees before.
It also marked the fifth consecutive day that temperatures in Yangsan have exceeded the 40-degree mark. Health officials are growing increasingly concerned as the prolonged heat takes its toll. Government data shows that 1,781 people suffered heat-related illnesses between May 15th and July 31st, while 13 people died from heat-related causes during the same period. Authorities are urging residents to stay hydrated, avoid prolonged outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day, and pay close attention to vulnerable groups, including the elderly, young children, and those with underlying health conditions. Forecasters say there is little immediate relief in sight, with the dangerous heat expected to persist into the coming days. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump says talks with Iran will begin on Monday after putting a planned strike on hold. While Trump says the outlines of a deal are already in place, Tehran insists no such agreement exists. Our Kim Jun-ho reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump says negotiations with Iran will resume on Monday afternoon. Speaking aboard Air Force One on Sunday, Trump said the two sides would engage in the form of a negotiation.
Well, now what we're doing is we're talking to them in the form of a negotiation. It begins tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see if it's on.
The president added that a deal on the Strait of Hormuz would come first, followed by Iran's denuclearization. In a Truth Social post on Saturday, he said progress in negotiations had prompted him to hold back the strike. Trump said Iran, as well as allies including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar had asked him to hold off on any attack after the perimeters of a deal had been agreed. According to Trump, the proposed deal would require the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and an end to Iran's nuclear threat. Reports over the weekend suggested the U.S. and Israel were weighing strikes on Iran's energy targets. But Saudi Arabia may also have played a role in preventing the strikes, with the nation's state news agency saying Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman urged Trump to de-escalate the conflict during a phone call on Saturday. Trump later confirmed the conversation, telling reporters on Sunday that the Crown Prince would much prefer a deal as opposed to an attack. Yet Iran denied Trump's claim that Tehran had asked Washington to refrain from launching new strikes. State media dismissed the allegation as nothing but a new lie, insisting Iran's position on the Strait of Hormuz remains unchanged. It also said the country's armed forces were on high alert and ready for any eventuality. Meanwhile, Iran's official news agency IRNA, citing Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, reported on Sunday that negotiations with Oman over the Strait of Hormuz were in their final stages. Kim Jun-ho, Arirang News.
The South Korean stock market has been on a roller coaster in recent weeks, with investor sentiment swinging sharply despite record earnings from the country's two biggest chip makers, Samsung Electronics and SK hynix. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Oh Jun-seok, Dean at the College of Economic and Business at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor Oh, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So Samsung Electronics extended its record run with second quarter operating profit topping analyst expectations. How significant is this?
Might be highly significant as the company performed more operating profit in a single quarter than it did in 2024 and 2025 combined together. This historic quarter illustrates its wider market impact on AI supercycle, completely solidifying its dominance in the global AI chip supply chain. Samsung took a giant technological lead by becoming the first in the industry to mass produce and make a shipment of advanced HBM4 and HBM4E chip samples. A massive global investment in data center and autonomous agentic AI caused the server chip demand to far outlive production capacity. It is expected Samsung will continue its record-breaking performance in the second half of this year. Samsung's second quarter result, though demonstrated robust demand in the market, but they also send a warning signal of structural vulnerability in its chip business and cyclical slowdown in consumer electronics area. In addition, the advent of edge computing decentralized data processing by bringing computation and storage closer to the source. Multi-billion-dollar data center expansions are bottlenecked by local power generation limitations. Geopolitical tension has been constant as well. The non-memory, for example, system LSI and foundry sectors suffered heavily from U.S. export restrictions on advanced AI chips to China. This caused unexpected inventory write-offs and then compliance cost that squeezes profit margin afterwards.
Right, and investors are now questioning how long Samsung's record high margins can be sustained. So how do you think this momentum will continue?
Worries has emerged like a working shadow in the dark. As you pointed correctly, investors are questioning how long this can last, given the cyclical nature of the chip industry, rising capital expenditure, and intensifying global competition. During the super cycle, margin remains strong in the near term, but one of volatility beyond 2027. Even though the 52.2% profit margin is technically near its cyclical ceiling, and Samsung's peak momentum will highly likely continue. Through the second half of 2026, and into 2027, Samsung management, they themselves explicitly confirm that global memory shortage will not only persist but become even severer heading into 2027. It is true, this cycle is fundamentally lengthened by multi-billion-dollar AI infrastructure deployment. However, physical and financial limits will inevitably bring it to a close afterward. A wider consolidation or slight tapering of this extreme margin is inevitable as the market stabilizes. A catastrophic collapse would be highly unlikely even in the future. At the moment, despite investor anxiety, major tech infrastructure spenders like Meta and Alphabet continue to scale up their AI capital expenditure. In this way, the structural AI-driven semiconductor supercycle will experience cyclical pause between late 2027 and mid-2028.
Right, and SK Hynix also reported a surge in second quarter profit. What's your take on the results and how is the market reacting?
SK Hynix posted the operating profit over $41.6 billion, representing a massive 557% explosion year on year. SK Hynix delivered an extraordinary record-breaking second quarter performance, yet the market reaction has been highly volatile. The unexpected regulatory heart attack and the subsequent aggressive market fluctuations showcase the dynamic at play. As for the market reaction, total revenue surged 257% year on year. However, even this big figure missed the high-end customers' expectation of the market over 280%. And the minor shortfall stems from minor logistical delay in HBM4 shipment, pushing recognized revenue into the second half of this year. Let's take a moment for a comparison. While Samsung remains a massively diversified conglomerate managing a mobile device ecosystem alongside its chip businesses, SK hynix is acting as a streamlined pure play, integrated only on AI infrastructure. Thus, market counts in is 76% of profit margin, outpaced Samsung's consolidated corporate matrix, keeping SK hynix firmly entrenched alongside NVIDIA, a prime beneficiary of the AI memory market. Either focused strategy versus diversification strategy, nobody knows which will the market winner eventually. At the moment, SK hynix has finalized long-term agreement with approximately 10 key global hyperscale customers. This structural shift contribute volume stability of SK hynix and helps smooth out the volatility semiconductor cycle afterward.
Right, and the Korean government has introduced additional curbs on single stock leveraged ETFs following sharp swings in the local stock market. Are these measures proving effective?
Single stock leveraged ETFs are highly specialized and very volatile financial instrument, which is fit for the short-term tactical trader, but might be very dangerous delicate for long-term investors. Holding this fund for a week or a month almost guarantees underperformance relative to the target leverage. Through the introduction, it could help the market increase the trade volume and the number of diverse participants, not only the real traders, but also speculators or intraday traders. They could participate in the trade. Unlike index-based ETF, single stock can drop more than 20% in a day on a bad news, causing catastrophic and irreversible losses in the ETF. This is why I did not agree on the introduction of single stock leveraged ETF, and this is why Korean government hurriedly curbed on single stock leveraged ETF, such as raising cash deposit to 30 million won and capping holdings at 20% of an individual portfolio, which will be valued as temporary measures. Capital market reflected this change that it have sharply slashed the trade volume, though there are debates their long-term effectiveness in addressing broader market stability. Raising the mandatory minimum cash deposit to 30 million won successfully discourages small-scale retail participation and speculative strategies. The 20% individual holding limit effectively covered the extreme concentration of retail assets tied to volatility tech giants such as Samsung Electronics and SK hynix. Overall measures were effective temporarily again. Daily turnover and speculative activity in single stock leverage product plummeted by roughly 75% immediately following the enforcement of this kind of strict new requirement. What is to be remembered now is that sharp market swings are driven by macroeconomics and political headwind, the technical adjustment to market dynamics, and by short covering measures like single stock ETF structures.
I see. All right, Professor, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
In K-pop news, BTS kicked off its North America tour at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey over the weekend, with over 80,000 fans gathering to get a glimpse of their favorite group. The two-concert stay in New Jersey kicked off on Saturday to a sold-out crowd and marked the group's return to the venue since their halftime performance at the World Cup final last month. The sold-out crowd also saw fans in support of BTS' recent boycott over the Grammys, after all 7 members announced they would not submit their music to the 69th Grammy Awards following the creation of a separate Best Asian Pop Music Performance category. The Arirang World Tour began in April and will span 34 cities around the world. K-pop is becoming more than something fans simply watch and enjoy. These days, so-called idol experience studios are gaining popularity among foreign tourists. Visitors can try K-pop style makeup, hair and outfits, and pose for professional photos all in one place. Our Park Chae-ryung reports.
With polished makeup, a stage outfit, and idol-style poses, she looks ready for a K-pop performance. But this is not a K-pop idol. It's a visitor from the United States. Her transformation begins with professional hair and makeup, creating a polished, camera-ready look.
Western makeup usually is a lot more dramatic, especially with the eyes and the lips. Korean makeup, it feels more natural, so it kind of brings out the inner beauty more so.
The studio offers K-pop inspired concepts. The outfits were designed in-house, drawing inspiration from the visual styles of groups including aespa, Hearts to Hearts, and New Jeans. Around 100 people sign up for the experience each month, and around 20 or 30 of them are foreign visitors.
Many foreign tourists discover our studio through social media. They have a great time trying on different outfits and really enjoy the experience.
After completing her hair and makeup, she changes into a stage outfit and steps in front of the camera. With guidance from the photographer, she tries out a series of idol-style poses.
It feels almost like a dream. I've always wanted to look a certain way, but I've always lacked the makeup skills for it. So when I get to see myself like this, it feels like a fairy tale almost.
After the shoot, she selects her favorite images, which are professionally retouched and printed. The finished photos become a personalized souvenir of her K-pop transformation. Today, for a few hours, this visitor was no longer just a K-pop fan. She was a K-pop star. Experiences like this are creating new ways for international fans to engage with K-pop. But experts say turning them into established tourism products will require more than just their current popularity.
To help idol experiences become lasting tourism products, the government and major agencies should work together on stabilizing prices and easier access for foreign visitors.
K-pop fans no longer have to settle for just watching their idols from afar. With the right makeup, hair, and stage, they can step into the spotlight themselves. Park Chae-ryung, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Spanish officials say at least 72 people died in last week's mass crossing into Ceuta, Spain's enclave on the Moroccan coast. This comes as 5 more bodies washed ashore on Sunday. More than 50,000 people rushed the border by land and sea beginning Thursday last week. Some drowned. Others were crushed trying to climb a breakwater and a border fence. Morocco's Interior Ministry puts its own toll at 11 and says it is still verifying reports from the Spanish side. Since then, nearly all of those who crossed the border have gone back to Morocco. Following the incident, 22 European member governments signed a letter demanding coordinated action on external borders. Italy suspended passport-free travel with Spain for 1 month. OPEC and other oil-producing nations on Sunday announced they will pump more oil starting next month. OPEC Plus will allow a total increase in production of roughly 190,000 barrels per day. This latest step finishes unwinding a cut of 1.65 million barrels that the group first agreed to back in 2023. In practice, this year's increases have barely reached the market. Wars involving Iran and Ukraine have disrupted exports out of the Gulf, Russia, and Kazakhstan. The 7 core members are to meet again September 6th. In Greece, 2 firefighting helicopters collided in mid-air west of Athens on Sunday, causing 1 helicopter to crash. The helicopter's Danish pilot and a Greek fire service officer were killed. The other aircraft made an emergency landing. The fire they were fighting has destroyed more than 100 homes. Investigators believe sparks from a private power line serving wind turbines started the fire. 2 people have been arrested on suspicion of negligence. In the United States, wildfires have torn through more than 250,000 acres of Washington state, forcing evacuations and cutting power to 60,000 people. The governor declared a statewide emergency on Saturday. About 4,000 personnel are fighting more than a dozen fires throughout the state. In Spokane, a city of 230,000, one blaze threatens 4,000 buildings. A veterans hospital and several water treatment plants have been evacuated.
The center of this summer's extreme heat is shifting. After Yangsan and Gyeongsang-namdo saw temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius for 5 straight days, the worst of the heat is now spreading toward Western Korea. And Seoul could reach 37 degrees Celsius today, marking one of the hottest days of the year so far. And most regions will stay sunny. However, late this afternoon into the evening, passing showers are expected over southern Gangwon-do and northern Chungcheong-do with 5 to 10 millimeters expected. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 37 degrees. Gwangju, Daegu will be at 39 degrees Celsius. The scorching heat will continue through much of this week in the west with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. So please avoid outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day. And remember the 3 essentials: water, shade, and rest.
Now that's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.